It's not officially 49ers offseason until a player goes on a podcast and says something controversial. What's going on with the 49ers free agency plans? And who stood out at the combine? Stick around for all that and more right after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, the only 49ers podcast that refused to run the 40-yard dash. Steph, what's going on? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I know. Been on a bit of a social media hiatus on, Twitter and whatnot. So I know I've missed a lot. I missed the combine. But, we'll talk about it. I know you've been following along, so we'll talk all about that. But I know we got this Trent Williams stuff to talk about as well. So let's dive right into it.
Yeah. The Pivot Podcast, they had Trent Williams on there. I tend to lean towards these sort of things with the players being on there. There was Cam Newton's show where he had a very frank and honest discussion with Steve Smith. I thought that was great. But this, I haven't watched it, but the whole clip that we're about to talk about it, I have feelings, and I'm gonna let it play first before we talk about it.
It's funny you said that. I tell people all the time, I'd rather not go than to go and lose, because the pain of losing, that shit lasts for months. That shit lasts for months. I was under a rock for 3-4 months, literally. I didn't even want to be seen in public. I didn't want to see no Instagram posts. I didn't want to see no Twitter. I actually found peace because I got off of all social media. My phone was as dead as it's ever been, and just, I was able to heal properly. It was surreal. I didn't even realize it was over. I seen the touchdown, and I'm thinking damn, it couldn't have ended just like that. And then I ain't lie, I see Andy Reid running on the field. I said, oh shit, it's over with. Mm-hmm. And I literally, bro, I took my helmet off and I threw it as far in the air as I could possibly throw it. So I probably threw it 50 feet in the air. And then I dawned on me, oh shit, that can kill somebody. So I'm literally trying to fucking catch my helmet. And then I went in and I'm like, yeah, this shit, bro. This shit was it was the worst pain ever.
Okay. Worst pain ever. I understand that. I completely disagree with the sentiment. That's loser talk. I'd rather not go than go and lose. Then don't go and lose. Go and win. How else are you supposed to win a Super Bowl if you're not in it? The whole idea of I'd rather lose in the NFC Championship than play in the biggest game with the chance to win it all because you're scared of losing? Trent, come on, man. I understand what he meant. I understand what his sentiment is. There's no way in hell I'd rather lose in the NFC Championship game. Yeah, it hurts to lose Super Bowls. Fine. We're fans. It hurts. 2012, 2019, 2023, cool. Bro, I'd rather lose than go to the Super Bowl and lose. Go there and win then. I'll never understand this one, man. I hate that. I hate that sentiment. I hate that mentality.
I actually don't have a issue with it. I feel it's kind of what people are saying in the comments, it's more of a hindsight thing. I think, of course, everyone who goes to the Super Bowl wants to go to the Super Bowl, wants to win, and wholeheartedly think they're going to win. I think every player, every team that goes to the Super Bowl believes that they're going to win the Super Bowl. But, from the pain standpoint, I get it. It's hard for us fans to kind of stomach those losses, and I can't even imagine what it's like for them as players, everything they've worked for that season, and then at the end of it to lose. So, I get it. I don't think he's saying he's scared to lose and that's why he'd rather not even make it. I don't think that's what he's saying, but I get it. I think it's just the pain is too overwhelming. I don't have an issue with it, actually.
So what about the NFC Championship game in which they ran out of quarterbacks? You're fine with that?
What about it?
You're fine with that? You're okay with that? That doesn't hurt? You don't feel hurt about that? And Harry Doyle with the dumbest comment on here. I stopped listening when the podcaster called the Hall of Famer a loser. Never said that, but fine if you want to, be dumb. Aponte's a joke, but nothing's funny over here. At the NFC game, you lose a bunch of quarterbacks, and you're just like, oh well, we didn't make the Super Bowl, but I'm okay with that. I don't like it. I don't like that thought process. You play until you get to the last game, and that's it. Like, I don't feel better about seasons because the 49ers didn't make the Super Bowl. Like, I don't feel better about them where I'm just like, well, at least they didn't lose in the Super Bowl. No. You got to be in it to win it. I'll never understand the thought process of I'd rather lose in the NFC Championship game or I'd rather lose in the divisional round. No. I'd rather lose on the biggest stage, playing my ass off and playing for the best prize. So I just don't understand that part.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just I think it kind of goes along too with like mentality of some fans where it's like, Super Bowl or bust. And that whole conversation we repeatedly have on this pod as well. It's like, do you think the season is a failure if the 49ers don't win a Super Bowl? And, I think we've said repeatedly on this pod as well that we don't feel that way. We don't think this last season was a failure, for example. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like he meant for it to come off as like he has this like loser mentality that he would rather lose in the NFC Championship game, but I see how it comes off that way.
Yeah, I'm shocked that he said that. Somebody who's only played in one Super Bowl. Somebody who's on his way to, the twilight of his career, who's still at the top of his game. I'm shocked to hear him say that. I guarantee he wants to make the Super Bowl this year in his last 1 or 2 years. So just comes off shocking, man, especially for somebody, like I said, who like toiled away in Washington and finally made the Super Bowl in 2023. And, and now all of a sudden you're done with Super Bowls. Like, oh man, we lost the Super Bowl. I'm not going to go, I don't want to go to anymore. Like what? But I was just shocked to hear him say that as a leader, I would say. I don't think everybody follows that thought process, in my opinion.
No, and I'll say this, like, I think it would shock us, and maybe not shock us at the same time, how many players view them playing football as a job. That, like, it for a lot of guys, that's really all it is. So I think some of them do have a different mindset. I'm not saying Trent falls under that category, but saying something like that did kind of give that impression a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it is the off season, and I'm gonna probably take some time and watch the entire interview. I feel like that clip was good though, like it wasn't out of context. He explained himself all the way through, so it's not something that we can say, oh well, you didn't hear the rest of it. He spoke enough where he explained himself. So yeah, I just disagree with that sentiment. I think everybody would want to be going down swinging in the last game, and the only way to win the Super Bowl is to be in it. But the 49ers have a long way to go there, and that's going to start with free agency. And free agency is about March 9th is going to be the legal tampering period. That means you can illegally tamper with guys right now. And there's a lot of things that are coming out. The only person that was tagged today, Breece Hall, and actually Daniel Jones was hit with the transition tag, which is a tag that hasn't been used for about 15, 17 years, something like that. But it does mean that Alec Pierce can't be tagged. So Alec Pierce is going to be the next contestant and who's going to overpay for a wide receiver too. Alec Pierce, and then there's the Jonathan Grenard stuff from Minnesota. Minnesota's about $50 million over cap. They need to find some ways to remove some cap. Jonathan Grenard fits that mold. He only had, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 3 sacks in 12 games last year, but he was injured. Dallas Turner really stepped up. Perfect time for him to move on. I would like to say that I think that the 49ers should pursue Jonathan Grenard as opposed to trying to go all in for a Max Crosby or even a Trey Hendrickson, who's going to want a bunch of money now that he's a free agent finally, Steph.
Is that just looking at it from the standpoint of how much you think Grenard would cost versus
yeah, else? And definitely. Yeah. And he wants a raise. So it's not like Grenard's going to come over here for whatever it is, but you also have to send draft picks for him. So it depends on what you mean about cost. If
Mm.
you're worried about draft capital, that is something that you have to give off. That's part of the cost, and then he wants a raise. Um, with Hendrickson, you'll just sign him to a hefty contract. You don't have to give anything up. So it depends on what you mean. In my opinion, I think Grenard is looking for guaranteed money. His contract, if I'm not mistaken, is good for $18.6 million this year, but it's not guaranteed. If the 49ers could find a way to maybe guarantee that, that's something that's really good for a player who's still very good, I believe. Minnesota's not moving on from him because he isn't good. They're definitely trying to shed some of that money for salary cap purposes because they are $50 million over. And, another thing that came across today too, because, people are wondering about Tyler Linderbaum, who you can waive bye-bye to because that's about 23, 24, $25 million a year. Last season, we were all in on trying to get Drew Dahlman. Drew Dahlman retired today. Now, what if the 49ers would have signed him to a deal and that would have happened? And he's not going to make anywhere near what Linderbaum's going to make. Linderbaum's about to reset the market. But we all wanted Dahlman. Looks like the 49ers kind of dodged a bullet here without signing him.
Yeah, at 27, like that is a huge shocker. And if the 49ers made that move, everyone would probably be calling for John Lynch's head. The usuals that just dog on every move that he makes. But yeah, I mean that's crazy. Jake Brendel still alive and well in the NFL. But I think that does have implications for the 49ers because I see it as that's just another team that's going to need a center. And I feel like the 49ers need to be looking at a center as well. So, that just muddies that picture a little bit. Sorry for the barking. I'm switching rooms.
All right. Not a problem. The thing is Tyler Biadasz, I think that's how you say his name, from Washington. He's available, and that's what's funny is the Bears are already bringing him in. This does kind of feel like the Bears are caught off guard. Not like when Joe Staley retired and the 49ers were able to pivot to Trent Williams. This is a little bit of a shocker. And honestly, he signed like a 4-year deal and he's 27 years old, man. I really didn't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. And so, yeah, and they've invested a lot in their offensive line. So I got to imagine that they're going to want to be aggressive in filling that role again. So that's going to be interesting how that plays out in free agency, how that impacts other teams, including possibly the 49ers. Going back to the edge rusher thing, and, as we're speaking about aggression, I think pass rusher is definitely a position the 49ers need to be aggressive in. I know last offseason they were, they kind of just stood back and waited for things to fall on their lap and all that. They weren't trying to go heavy for anyone. But I feel like there's a couple of positions this offseason where I feel like they are going to need to be aggressive, and there's some big names out there. You don't know what Nick Bosa is going to look like when he comes back, how soon he's going to be back. And also, I think as well as Michael Williams, like you don't really know when he's going to be back. So you really got to shore up the other side of that line because you're going to be dependent on that guy to start the season. So I think edge rusher is definitely one of those positions the 49ers need to be aggressive in, as well as wide receiver. Although I do see the 49ers being a little more aggressive in the draft for a wide receiver, whereas maybe for edge, we see it in free agency or trade.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bryce Huff, Keon White, Michael Williams, those are your edge guys aside from Nick Bosa. They're probably going to have to sign somebody. They'll probably sign somebody that's really not going to knock your socks off. But I do like the Jonathan Grenard thing. I do think that it's cost effective. I still think he's a good football player. I still think he has a lot in the tank. His pressure rate's through the roof. If you're into that sort of thing, the 3 sacks, you could say, okay, well, he had 3 sacks in 12 games. Yeah, that's fine and all, but I still see a guy who is playing very well. And a wide receiver, I think the 49ers, they need to do, 2 things, get 2 of them from the draft as well too, and somebody in free agency, right? Like and then you start looking through free agency and it's like Mike Evans is going to want some money and he wants to be, I think the part that kind of eliminates Mike Evans from the 49ers is the fact that he says he wants to, a lion's share of the touches. That's not going to happen. Like the 49ers are not going to force feed you the ball. So that would probably be the thing that keeps him away, right? Tyreek Hill, we don't know. He probably seems destined to just go back to Kansas City. We don't even know what he's really going to be like. There's like Christian Kirk and all these other guys that are free agents, Wan'Dale Robinson, like, the guys that you got to start thinking about maybe that the 49ers are going to look at in free agency are probably going to be lower on the rung. A guy like Tim Patrick or, somebody who's in the middle right there. Like, again, the free agent class isn't stacked. Like, it's not like sexy, so for me it looks like it's just going to be guys that either have like shared a cup of coffee with Kyle Shanahan, played in his system, aren't able to be there. But, you need somebody that is going to be able to step in day one. And I think that's where the draft picks are up against the wall. I think they're the ones, whoever they draft, whether it's at 27 or whatever, they've got to step in right away. They've got to step in right away, and they've got to be a instant contributor. They can't have hey, Ricky Pearsall, you have the unfortunate injury. We got to wait a year. Deebo Samuel, we got to wait a little while to get you integrated. Brandon Ayuk, you're in and out of the doghouse. Like, no, you need this guy to hit the ground running. It's a lot of pressure on a draft pick, but they back themselves into this position because otherwise we're going to be back to the whole, should we bring back Kendrick Bourne for the vibes thing?
Well, while we're talking about, draft and draft picks, is this a good segue to combine talk?
Yeah.
All right. Because what I heard, and like I said, I've been on a hiatus, but I've been hearing rumblings here and there about what happened at the combine, and all I know is these dudes are fast, like otherworldly fast. So, what were your impressions of like the wide receivers? I know there's a guy from IU that's getting mocked to the 49ers quite a bit. I'm sure you like that.
Omar Cooper Jr., yeah, welcome to San Francisco. You're welcome. So yeah, there's guys that are fast, right? But I want to have a discussion about this. Yes, the 49ers need speed. But the 49ers need speed from people who can play football. And let me explain. Xavier Worthy can run really fast. He can't play football. John Ross was very fast. He can't play football. Just because you can run in a straight line very fast, that is not how receiver is played. So yes, you want speed, but you want guys who can get themselves open with speed. You need football speed. You need route running acumen. I don't care how fast you can run in a straight line in underwear. That's not football. Football isn't played that way. And if that was the case, Steph Sanchez, Danny Gray would be going on his 5th straight season of being very good at football. Jordan Watkins is fast. Is he good at football? Good at football. But there are guys who did, show me a little something. Bryce Lance. Hey, man. Listen, John Lynch had a very interesting statement saying, when we visited with Trey, we were wondering, like, how do we get your brother? So apparently the brother's the phenom of this family. 19 years old, they saw it, but he had an amazing day. Brazel looked really good. I think that's somebody who everybody's in on, Chris Brazel from Tennessee. The guys, obviously, I'm in on Omar Cooper Jr., obviously. The Casey Concepcion thing, I'm worried a little bit about him. Just because there's something about his game that when I watch him, like, he drops the football a lot, and he might have more bust potential on him, especially for a guy who they're saying is like Deebo, who can't. And when they say Deebo, they mean like not being able to run routes. That's why I don't like the Omar Cooper comparison, because I think Omar Cooper's a very refined route runner. He's very good. And Deebo was a great football player, but he wasn't a route runner. Right? Like, that's not like, and I hate when they do that, but Casey Concepcion does fit that mold, in my opinion. Like, I don't think that he's like as smooth as a receiver. Like, I think, it'll be that whole like throw the ball at the line and have him like try to run around. Jacoby Lane is somebody that was really good from USC, also a wide receiver. Had a good time watching the wide receivers. Not everybody ran their 40s, which was smart because who cares, really? You want to be able to see. No, it's true because you want to
Yeah.
see, can guys get in and out of their breaks? Can they track the football? Who cares if speed was the only thing that mattered? Then you know what? Sign Usain Bolt. Like, what does it matter? Like, if you're fast and you can't play football. But those are my takeaways from the wide receivers. The 40-yard thing with wide receivers, I get weary of that, and I get weary of looking at that because I'm just like, dude, that's not how you're gonna play on the field, and that's not how you're gonna actually, because people are gonna bump you off your routes. Are you strong? Are you physical? Right? Like, so the idea that just because a receiver isn't running a blazing 40-yard means that you shouldn't draft him means that you're overlooking the nuances of route running and how hard it is to get yourself open because there's plenty of guys that don't have speed that have football speed and they're able to get themselves open. But yes, there's a lot of wide receivers in this draft, man. The 49ers will have their choice and they can get someone who can step in day one. Is it at 27? Sure. I don't have a problem with it because you can't in one breath tell me that you're worried about the wide receiver group and then tell me that you don't want them drafting a wide receiver at a good spot. So I 27 wide receivers absolutely in play, but everybody's gonna want an offensive lineman. Just any offensive lineman, Steph, any of them. Like if there's an offensive lineman there, just draft him, right? Like isn't that the goal?
Well, we've seen other teams do that, right? And those guys haven't always panned out, which is why I think the 49ers, as we've seen time and time again, are okay with continuing on with their philosophy while very frustrating at the same time. I do feel at some point, when Trent Williams moves on, they are going to have to be aggressive in getting his replacement, whether that be in free agency or the draft. Now, going back to wide receiver, as far as, you did mention a couple of guys, right, that were speed guys, Danny Gray, Jordan Watkins, who haven't even counting, although, I think he does have some route running, but we just haven't seen that. So they have drafted a lot of speed guys, but I think when they've drafted speed guys, it's been when they've already had other pieces, like other wide receivers that are route runners, right? Like I think they kind of get the speed guys as complements to the other receivers that they have. And let's just be honest, right now, you don't really have anybody. So I don't think they are looking at a speed guy. Sure, it's a nice to have, but to your point, I think it's not top of mind for them. They're looking for someone who's refined. I think they do know they have to get someone who's going to be able to contribute right away. And I think that even goes beyond what they could do on the field. This needs to be a kid who could pick up this playbook and, be able to consume it and apply it to the field quickly, so someone who's really smart, football smart, and can learn quickly. I think that's someone they're probably going to be looking for as well. It's nice to know that there's going to be a lot of different options for them, especially at 27. Right now, if I had to, put money on it, I'd say they go wide receiver again in the first round. But yeah, I think they're going to be focused on getting someone who's way more polished than they've drafted and even in past years. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Antonio Williams is another guy too from Clemson. But the thing is like slot guy, right? Like he has to play out of the slot, and the same thing too. Like I like Elijah Surratt, but you're worried about speed, and I think in his game I see a lot of Keenan Allen, who wasn't exactly fast, but he was able to catch a bunch of passes and understands how to get himself open. I think you're discounting what it takes to actually win at this level, and speed is not the main characteristic. There's plenty of guys that aren't super fast that understand how to get themselves open, right? Like there's different ways to win in this league. And I think I found the running back that that Kyle Shanahan's eventually going to is totally gonna just fall for.
Oh no.
Yeah, Mike Washington Jr. from Arkansas, 4.3. Going to be later on. You can have him. There's been talks. Speaking of free agents, Kenneth Gainwell and what's the other one? Kenneth Gainwell, and they're bringing up a bunch of other people. But do you think the 49ers would address like free agency with a running back that they know that they have to give touches to, or is this just like we're running it back with Christian McCaffrey again until his body breaks?
I think the latter, because like that's what they've shown us, right? Like when they traded for Brian Robinson, I totally thought that they were going to give him more touches than he ended up with, right? Like I think a lot of us did. And they just kept going back to the tried and true Christian McCaffrey, which to his credit, stayed healthy all season, but could we expect that for 2 seasons in a row with the volume that he's getting? Like, I don't know. At some point, it's going to bite the 49ers in the butt, just like it did couple seasons ago. So I think it'd be smart for them to start splitting those carries, but we just haven't seen the willingness for them to do that yet. I think I would prefer at this point, how about don't give up any draft capital for any running backs and just pick up cheap guys in free agency who, could give you a little spark here and there, because that's really all you're using them for. You're not going to, this isn't going to be a 1A, 1B situation at any point.
Tyler Algier?
I like Algier. I think he's really
I do too.
nice. He's obviously been a really nice compliment to Bijan Robinson and can provide some boost, or has provided boost for the Falcons at times. So he'd be nice. But again, I just go back to would they actually use him? I don't know.
Right.
So if they're not going to use him, then I don't see the point of them giving up what I think Algier would get from another team, right? I think another team would pay him more and use him more. If I'm his agent, I go somewhere else. But
Jordan James season loading. No snaps this season at all happening.
No, 0. But you know
0.
what? We should see some of him. I wish we did. Why do you draft these guys and then we never see them? They turn into ghosts. Is it really because they're that bad? If they're that bad, maybe stop drafting running backs. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing, because we used pre-Christian McCaffrey, the running back room was just a hodgepodge of, a few different guys, and Kyle Shanahan made it work. Now that he has Christian McCaffrey, it's it's the new shiny toy he can't get off of. He needs to find the Buzz Lightyear to his Woody.
Poor Isaac Garendo. Here's a good one. I think it's somebody who's in the later rounds, but he's a defensive tackle. Zane Durant, 4.75 40. Big man was moving. Now, again, with defensive tackles, you don't want your defensive tackles to be running 40 yards. So it doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
That's not something that you're gonna put on it. But his 10-yard split is 1.66. Smaller guy, absolutely. End of the draft, I think, is where you'll find him. But Zane Durant, man, that was some show that he put on there. The other guy that I was impressed with, defensive tackle Caleb Banks from Florida. I think, 1.76, 10-yard split. He looked good, man. He looked real good. So I just worry about, can he rush the passer? Is he just a run stopper? Is this another deal of a defensive tackle who's just a run stopper? The 49ers need a pass rushing defensive tackle in this draft, if they can ever find one. But those were some of the guys from the big man group that really had me going a little bit. Caleb Proctor, 1.68, 10-yard split, not bad. But Zane Durant and Lee Hunter too. By the way, Lee Hunter is somebody who I think is good, and he's been mocked to the 49ers, 1.79, 10-yard split. So yeah, it's the 49ers are going to have to address the defensive line as well too. But the bigger guys didn't run the 40s and anything like that. They didn't have to, or they didn't have to do any of the 10-yard splits. So this is what I got from the guys that are going to be around later on.
Yeah, some of those guys that you mentioned, were at the Senior Bowl and, were quite the buzz that whole week as well. So, when we talk about the combine, we kind of wanted to just inform some of the information we already had through tape, right? We don't want to form opinions just based on the combine, but, we have game tape on these guys. We have the Senior Bowl week for some of these guys who impressed, and now you're seeing them do this extra stuff. Well, that'll definitely help. So yeah, I think guys who from all those 3 stages and, maybe even going to their Pro Bowl impress, their stock is going to rise as we get closer to the draft. I think there are going to be some nice pieces for the 49ers. And Khalid Davis is going to be a free agent. You definitely need some more bodies at defensive tackle and more pass rush. Yes, please. From all sides of that defensive line, if they could replenish that, that'd be big. Caleb Banks is a guy I really enjoyed watching at the Senior Bowl as well as Lee Hunter. both of those guys really talented.
Yeah, and they'll definitely be in the mix for the 49ers as well too. Let's talk about tight ends. The Kenyon Sadiq dream is dead. He'll never make it to 27 now after he runs a 1.54 10-yard split. He's for the streets now. But there are new contenders for tight ends as well too. Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt, 1.59 10-yard split. I think he had the highest vertical of any tight end. That's what you with tight ends you really want to lock in on speed. Like that matters a lot. Like it really matters a lot because those guys are like more lined up for success. And then Sam Roush from Stanford, man, 161 10-yard split. Man, if the 49ers are looking for a tight end, there's somebody in there who's very athletic. And, I know George Kittle says week 1, but I'd like to see one of these guys probably playing more at tight end than Jake Tonjes.
Yeah, please. My only thing is, like, I feel like tight end might be one of those positions where the 49ers maybe do value experience. I wonder if they'll go for a free agent as well, or maybe instead of a tight end, kind of high. But I do like some of the guys you mentioned, especially Roush. I mean, he was someone at the Senior Bowl as well who definitely impressed. He's met with John Lynch and the 49ers, of course. So definitely someone who feels like it's up there. He's up their alley, like not just locationally, but also just the type of player and the type of tight end that they would look for, like just a guy who knows how to block, but also, he could catch the football and he's athletic, right? So I think that's a very intriguing player. And, for someone who might have to fill the shoes of a George Kittle, like you want someone to be the complete tight end, well-rounded, who could do everything well. I mean, that's not easy to find, but, someone like Roush would definitely be in par with that.
Briz by Life on Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch fam. Wow, the disrespect to the greatest backup tight end of all time. I didn't say a word about Ross Dwelly. I didn't say anything about Ross Dwelly. All right. Defensive end edge. Malachi Lawrence from UCF. 159, 10-yard split. Somebody who's been kind of hanging around in the third or fourth round. That could be somewhere that the 49ers could look. He probably boosted his stock a little bit further. TJ Parker from Clemson, 161, 10-yard split. And, some of the guys in here that I'm impressed with, I think are out of the 49ers range, like David Bailey, 162, probably not going to be around by 21 or 27. So Arvell Reese is the same thing, 158, 10-yard. But Lawrence, Parker, and there's one more. I think, well, we'll just say Lawrence and Parker. I liked what I saw from both of them, not only because they were scooting on the 10 yards, they were actually really, really good in their drills.
So if we believe that the 49ers are going to look for an edge in free agency, obviously we do still think they should draft one, and this is a pretty good draft to look at some of these guys. But as far as skill set that you'd look for, what are we looking for? We have Michael Williams, who
long arms,
long arms always, sure. And Michael's got the run defense down, so he's like your base down guy. Nick Bosa, he could do it all. Ideally, if they bring in a free agent, another guy who could do it all.
His brother.
So are you looking for someone who's like fast, in addition to the long arms?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, you want that short
Speed
area
rush
burst.
guy.
Yeah, you want that short area burst, right? Like, again, 40-yard dash, you don't have to pay attention to it for, linemen, for DEs. You pay attention to it for corners, tight ends, a little bit for wide receiver, but you have to take that with a grain of salt to see if they know how to play football. Secondary, clearly. Linebackers, you want to see that. But yeah, they need a guy who can get home fast. And I think that's what they thought they were getting with Bryce Huff this season, and it was going to be, a role that was carved out for him. And then it turned into an every down role, and that, zaps the effectiveness of it. So, yeah, I think they were chasing that last season. I think they'll chase it again this season, but they've got to try to, again, if you draft an edge, this guy has to start playing football right away. This isn't a Drake Jackson situation where you're going to be like, oh, well, give him a little time. And Nah, man, like this draft, like you have to have more and more of these guys step in right away and contribute right away. That's not fair to put on rookies, but I think it's just the corner that the 49ers have backed themselves in, given all the injuries and the departures and the people that are they're about to leave. So, this draft class is very important. Like as much as we got a lot of the draft class last season, probably out of necessity and a little bit more than we wanted to, just based on the fact of injuries. But they played. All those guys played. CJ West played, Collins played, Michael played, Siegel played. Like those guys played. Upton Stout played. Like you got a lot of games out of those guys. Some of it was forced, some of it wasn't. But you need something similar to that, and I don't think these guys should be. They shouldn't be in a position where they have to play. They should be in a position where they have to play because they're the best players at those positions that they're chosen at.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath uh for any edge that they draft to get significant playing time, but at the same time, out of necessity, at least to start the season, you might have to, right? So even if you're looking for one specific thing, maybe you do look to draft a guy who could do a little of everything as well, just because he's going to be needed early on.
Yeah, and Howdy 49er brings up a good point. Arnold Ebikadi from Atlanta. That's the type of like low end, low risk move that you'll see the 49ers do to try to get something out of him. Plus, he knows Raheem Morris. And he was heralded out of Penn State. So I don't disagree with that. I definitely think the 49ers will have their eyes on that. But that's the other thing is we kind of got to set our watch to moves that or names that aren't going to knock your socks off, right? Like Joey Bosa last year, everybody wanted him, and the Bills signed him. And by all and against all odds, Joey Bosa played every single game. He led all edges and forced fumbles. What's the chances he'll do that again? And as soon as he
Yeah.
becomes a 49er, like that's what I'm
Yeah.
afraid of. Like if you like I wasn't mad that they were going to take the chance last year, but everybody was worried about him not playing, missing games. He played every single game. That would have been a perfect thing, right? Like, but can he do it again? And he had a very good season, so he's going to want a little bit more money. Ebiketie feels like the right mix of like low risk and reward guy, but he's very young and there's still stuff that they can get out of him, especially with the supporting cast and Raheem Morris being there.
Like you said, that's definitely the type of move that the 49ers love to make. Like they would be all over that, I think. Just the fact that he is still young, just the fact that there is that familiarity already, it fills a need. Cheap, that pretty much describes all the 49ers like their favorite moves. And some of those end up working out for them quite well. So yeah, I could see that happening as well. Joey Bosa, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mind if they went for it again. But if the cost makes sense for them, sure. I wouldn't hold my breath on him staying healthy for a full season with the 49ers. I mean, I don't know. Also, he's probably paranoid about the substation stuff if we're being real.
He's he's in a room putting thumbtacks all over the wall and everything on a map. Yeah, for sure. Here's a name, and I'm going back to wide receiver. This is free agency. So we talked about Alec Pierce. It does sound like the Indianapolis Colts want Alec Pierce more than anything, but now they're going to have to bid against people because they weren't able to tag him. Michael Pittman Jr. as somebody who could be out there once they make that move for Alec Pierce, and they make Alec Pierce the number one. I wouldn't be against Michael Pittman Jr. As a San Francisco 49er with Ricky Pearsall and some draft picks. I'd feel far better about that wide receiver room if he was there. He's young, he still can play. He's good in the red zone. I think the world of Michael Pittman. It's just that he's been saddled with some bad quarterback play and he's had some unfortunate injury. Like sounds like a 49er already to me.
Very talented player. I mean, yeah, I definitely wouldn't scoff at the idea of Pittman coming. The 49ers could most certainly use a wide receiver, as we've been saying. My question is, how much is he going to want? How much is he going to be able to get in the open market? Are the 49ers willing to get into a bidding war if it comes to that? Like, I don't know. Or like trade. Like, how much would he be traded for? 49ers don't have a lot of draft picks, so Not sure, but at the same time, like I do always like up picks for a known commodity. You know what you're getting, rather than we're talking about the 49ers potentially taking a wide receiver in the first round or whenever they do. Like you're making a big investment in wide receiver potentially. I rather that go towards a known commodity personally.
Okay. What about, and here's another name, and Michael Pittman has two 1,000-yard seasons. I believe in 2024 he played with a broken back. And he had
It's
808.
wild.
Yeah, he was supposed to be out for the season, and he ended up starting 14 games. So that's somebody who can play through injuries. Has 7 touchdowns last year with Daniel Jones. Still a lot in the tank. And remember, they were, he had 80 receptions. Obviously Jones gets hurt, Phillip Rivers takes over. That kind of limits things. Alec Pierce was the one that was really seeing a lot of the throws and everything as well too. Tyler Warren. Here's another name, Steph, and it would have to be in a trade, but it does sound like somebody who's on the outs with their team, who I think is a very talented player, and he's still in his 20s. DJ Moore.
Mm. Yeah, actually, I was hearing about that like during the season, like early in the season, right? Like even as a possible trade candidate, just with the new regime and all that. Never happened. Like they held on to him, but I feel like the writing's been on the wall. And given that, maybe they don't ask for too much for him. Like at this point, they kind of just. I'm not going to say they would take anything for him, but I think they know that they would like to move on from him, and sometimes that means you would take a little bit less to make that happen. So I'd be interested to see how much he would teams would give up for him. I mean, still just 28 years old. Obviously, a lot left in the tank for him. Most of his career, he's been healthy. So, like, look at all the games he started, right? So, look at the
17
last few
games.
years. Yeah, I mean, that's something the 49ers, I think, need to prioritize as well. Like, just bringing in guys who have been healthy. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're looking for a Debo Samuel type of player, what is DJ Moore? DJ Moore is just far more accomplished as a receiver. I mean, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons in Carolina. He had 1,300 yards with Justin Fields as his quarterback in Chicago. And now Ben Johnson's lining him up in the backfield. They can use him that way. He's shifty. I think he gets a bad rap for being smaller, but he still can play outside. I think the one negative, and I'm very much a DJ Moore truther, like I always have been. Like when he was first drafted out of Maryland, like I was just like, yeah, this guy's gonna be a stud. Um, my only complaint with him is that sometimes he gives up on routes, and you can see that on tape, like where he just like slows down when he knows he's not a part of the play. I don't like that, and I'm sure they see that on tape as well too. But yeah, when things aren't going right, sometimes his body language can be a little bit off, and that's something that's a concern as well too. So, but yeah, just throwing names out there because the 49ers do need instant contributors, you know, with this wide receiver room, with the edge group, I do believe, you just can't have a wide receiver room of Ricky Pearsall, some rookie that you drafted that you're probably not going to play right away, Demarcus Robinson, Jacob Cowing, Jordan Watkins. Like that is legit one of the worst, if not the worst, wide receiver rooms in the league. So yeah, they're going to need people, whether that's free agency, whether that's trades. They're going to need people that are going to be able to step in right away. And it's crazy. In 2023, the top 3 wide receivers were Jawan Jennings, Debo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk. None of those guys are going to be on this team in 2026. And only one of them was a real big surprise, and that's the Ayuk thing, right? Like, I think they all were already like, hey, we're going to lose Debo or we're going to lose Ayuk. We'll lose one of them, but we're going to keep Ricky and pair him. And they kept Brandon, and they thought it was going to be with Pearsall. Now that's out the window. Now you're not even going to have Jennings. Like, it's just crazy how quickly this wide receiver room is about to just be completely different, completely revamped with a bunch of names and a bunch of numbers that you're not, used to seeing.
Yeah, and I wanted to make the joke on DJ Moore. Oh, he quits on his routes. He is a lot like Debo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to just end on that like that, he would be a great option for the 49ers, I think. But yeah, I mean, the wide receiver group, the pass catching group as a whole, especially to start the season, is going to be a huge question mark for the 49ers. I mean, if you're not going to have Kittle out there as well, like who are you throwing it to? Christian McCaffrey, like it might just beat the record for like amount of targets for a running back next season. If it's gonna look this way, because it's gonna look a lot different for the 49ers as far as who Brock Purdy is throwing to. But one thing's for sure, I do feel like the Brock Purdy has somewhat answered that question of can he lift some of the players that he had. I think last year he proved that. The year before, it was a down year for him for kind of the entire team. But I think last year, no matter who was in the lineup, no matter who he had throwing to him, like I think he had a great season when he was there and available. And so I do have some faith in that. And you are going to have some returning guys, but you're also going to have a lot of new faces. And so Brock Purdy is going to have to get acclimated with those guys. It's just going to look completely different as far as the offense goes and potentially even the philosophy. I mean, I know with Brock Purdy, they're willing to pass a little bit more. So maybe we see that, or maybe we see a return to the run game. Like maybe knowing what your tight end and wide receiver situation is, like maybe you return back to the roots and get back to bully ball. I don't know, but there's many ways that this could go this off season. But for sure they need a lot of new bodies in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, and then there's the cap casualties rumors like mill that's running right now, right? Apparently a lot of people just believe that Ronaldo Green is on his way out. I don't understand where that's coming from. I think he didn't have the season that we thought he would last season, but I'm not out on the young man. So like I think there was like some report that said like it's an 80% chance that he's gonna be traded. I'm just like, damn, that high? What are they trying to get out from under him? Like what's gonna happen after that? But another name that came up in cap casualties, D Winters. And what's funny is the 49ers, and I think it was John Lynch that was talking, and he was saying that he's pretty big on Eric Kendricks. Is there a scenario where D Winters is cut so they could save some money and they bring Eric Kendricks back for nothing because they like the way that he played at the end of the season for him to play next to Fred Warner?
That would be very interesting because listen, I like D Winters. I think he's grown into a pretty promising linebacker, especially when he's next to Fred. Like I think they complement each other pretty well from when we saw that last season. But that being said, I wouldn't put anything past the 49ers as far as ways to save money. And so maybe like that'd be crazy, right? But I mean, Eric Kendricks did do a pretty good job. But like, who would be your third linebacker then? In that case, you just go with any one of the younger guys, Bethune.
Yeah,
Jalen
Bethune
Graham,
probably.
like,
You're fine with
yeah.
that. You're fine with Bethune. Curtis Robinson has a lifetime pass to come back in and out of the building whenever he wants, right? Like, and maybe Nick Martin. Hey, Nick
Yeah.
Martin, you forgot about him, right? Like, I think he's still in concussion protocol.
Yeah, I'm like, is he okay?
Yeah, but yeah, it was just an interesting name that popped up. And they would only save $3.6 million if they got rid of D Winters. I think that kind of savings to get rid of D Winters says more about them trying to get away from the player than it does the savings, right?
And like, does that even make sense? Like, are they down on D Winters? Because like, I never got that
Yeah.
sense.
But that's the name
So
that keeps popping up. I can't like again like Ronaldo Green 80% chance Ronaldo Green's getting traded and D Winters could be a cap casualty and I'm like, "Wait a minute, the young guys like what are we doing?" Like that's
my only thought would be if it's a Raheem Morris influence decision of, hey, like maybe this guy doesn't really fit what I'm looking for, kind of thing. That would be my only guess. But yeah, for these younger players, like usually you just let them play out their rookie contracts because those contracts are pretty cheap to
and he
begin
was
with.
and he was drafted in what, the 5th round, the 6th round?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That would be a little mind-boggling, to be quite honest. Both
Yeah.
of them, the
Yeah.
D Winters and Ronaldo Green. I mean, who? Because if you let go of Ronaldo Green, like who? You need, suddenly cornerback becomes a need again. You have enough needs.
That's true. And I think there is a little sense that Renardo Green in a little bit more of a man-to-man setting as a corner, which Raheem Morris is going to put him in, would be better for him than the zone thing. I'm not
sure.
I'm not using that as a way to kind of give him a pass for his season, but it is completely different. He is a little bit more of a man corner. I do think that that's something that when he gets back to that a little bit more, his confidence will grow. But the zone thing is where you start to try to find that he starts to lose people in coverage. That's what got Kyle Shanahan, went to bench him in the Seattle game. So, just interesting to see those names pop up. Just because I was like, man, like those guys are like really young, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, I'm sure someone would absolutely try to jump at the idea of getting Renardo Green there. Now, another name, real quick, because apparently this might be your answer to like what do they do if they were to trade Renardo Green. A lot of people are connecting Super Bowl champion Reek Woolen to the San Francisco 49ers. But if he's leaving Seattle because he wants a lot of money, wouldn't he want a lot of money with the San Francisco 49ers? And then what do you do with Renardo Green? Right? Because Upton Stout's your nickel. I just these names that they're throwing out there, I'm just like, to Reek Woolen, I really don't think that like they're like, oh, he's a good fit for the 49ers. I'm like, what? Like, all right, so with Mox, I don't really get mad at people because they understand the team needs and they're just drafting players that are needed for the 49ers or whatever team that it is that they're drafting, and when they're doing their mocks, right? This stuff, and look, I'll read this. It's from the combine notes. I don't know who wrote this, but if Reek Woolen doesn't re-sign with the Seahawks, several NFL executives and coaches think the 49ers will have interest in the 6'4" cornerback. Woolen has had some ups and downs winning a ring in Seattle, but was pretty consistent locking down receivers, has speed, and is only 27. He wouldn't be cheap. The Athletic had him at number 26 in our free agent rankings with a price tag of over 4 years of $76 million, but would be an improvement over Renardo Green. Would you rather stay? And then the bottom of it is the last that we saw Green, Shanahan was yelling at him on the sidelines in Seattle. There would definitely be a trade market for the 2024 second round pick if Morris deems Green not a great fit, like you said. So I did find that interesting that came up. So it's kind of interesting that the whole Renardo Green thing is kind of popping up, and then the name Reek Woolen is the replacement. You said proven commodity. What's proven about Reek Woolen is that he's up and down. When he's up, he's up. When he's down, he's down. That's proven. Again, like I'm not disputing that. It's just not. It's not that floor that you're looking for with a guy that you're putting up all that money.
Yeah, and it was Matt Barrows and Vic Taffer who wrote that piece for The Athletic. So certainly two guys that are in the know. And that's what makes it even more interesting, I guess, about the Renardo Green thing. Because here's the other thing. If you let go of Renardo Green and you bring in someone like Woolen, yes, you're going to pay him big money. Suddenly, you're paying two cornerbacks a lot of money. Like, because, Lenore has his deal as well.
Well, Lenore, I'll say this.
Seem like 49ers thing. Like,
I'll say this with Lenore. I think that deal is it's going well right now. Like, it's looking good. Like, they're not,
it's
they're
not like an overpay or anything.
Right.
But still, like, those are, you've made investments to him, and would the 49ers do that to another, cornerback that is signing from another team? I guess I just find it interesting, this whole thing. But obviously there's something to this Renardo Green story. If, guys like Matt Barrows are talking about it, again, doesn't make much sense to us, but maybe it seems like something that's sort of inevitable, based on the rumblings.
Maybe Shanahan's tired of his shit. And that's just it. And when him and Morris get together, it's just like it's probably an agree fest, right? Like those guys are high fiving each other after everything. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to keep an eye on that. I personally would like to stick with the kid and see what he has here. But if they deem him not a fit, the 49ers are quick to rip a Band-Aid off, and they're just like, hey, we're gonna move on, and it doesn't have to make sense to us. Much like their NFL draft boards. In terms of how they view players as well too. Steph, it's good to see you. We got to stop doing this. You miss a show, I miss a show thing. Like, we've got to, if we're gonna miss a show, then we both have to miss the show, right? Like, and it's just Rob talking by himself.
I don't think anybody wants that.
I think a lot of people want that. And what we do is we go in the comments and we spam Jimmy G comments. Yeah, look at his face. See. One more thing before we get out of here. NFC West news kind of does concern the 49ers. Kyler Murray cut. Welcome to the New York Jets, bud. But the new quarterback in Arizona is going to be Malik Willis for 30 to 35 million. Darnold, Stafford, Brock, Willis. Those are your 4 NFC West quarterbacks, it sounds like. Steph, what do you think about that?
It's whatever, man. Like, and I don't know. Maybe Kyler Murray goes to the Vikings too. It'll be interesting. Suddenly, there's a lot of teams who will be looking for quarterbacks, and then also there's quarterbacks that are going to be available. So that does hurt, I think, Mac Jones' stock a little bit. If the 49ers were hoping to trade him, that's the thing on my mind. But in any case, there's those videos of him dancing, having a good time with Kendrick Bourne and all that. If he stays on the team for another year, I won't be mad.
Yeah, we'll take our 3rd round pick when he dips, But there was an article that was out, I believe it was Jeremy Fowler, that said there's not much for Mac Jones out there, the trade market. And I don't think the 49ers are going to force that. Yeah, I don't think the 49ers are going to force that. I think they're fine with that. They'll take their 3rd round pick and they'll take that nice quilt security blanket that if God forbid something happens to Brock Purdy again, we can win the what do you call it? We can win a bunch of games with him. And I do think it is a 3rd round pick for him leaving because of service and years accrued and everything as well too. So it is a 3rd round pick if he leaves and signs somewhere else next year. So the 49ers are fine with recouping that. That's their next running back right there, or their next kicker. So it's fine with them. Like, I'm good on the 3rd round picks. Like, when 3rd round, like, I just put my fingers in my ears and I just cover my eyes and I just wait to hear the name and I'm just like, all right, whatever. Like, let's get out of this round as fast as we can. The 3rd round. So I don't mind. I don't mind keeping him as well too, because the 49ers have gotten more out of backup quarterbacks than anybody. I want to say the last few years, right? Even when Jimmy was there, like, after Lance goes down, Jimmy wins them games, then Purdy, and then Purdy goes down, and Mac, right? Like, it's just, I think that it's really, really in a spot where, the 49ers are really worried about backup quarterback. They're worried about backup quarterback and they're worried about long snapper. Those are the 2 things that they're very much worried about as they make sure they get their deal done with John Weeks. But yeah, I do think that they value Mac Jones because they don't want to be, I'm fine with starting Curtis Rourke, but yeah. But I think they like what Mac does, and obviously he proved himself. He did a great job last year.
Yeah, I agree. So I really don't care at that point. And Malik Willis, like, the Cardinals don't scare me either. Like, okay, Malik Willis, fine. Like, just that whoever starts.
You say that until we drop a game against Arizona that we're on the instant reaction like, yo, what the hell happened, man?
But that would be the 49ers' fault, not it.
It always is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be because of the quarterback. It would be because the 49ers did something stupid like they do sometimes. But speaking of Mexico City, we out. I don't know when, but we out.
Listen, let's start moving. Let's start getting my legs moving in the proper direction and walking, and then we'll talk about traveling to another country to watch the San Francisco 49ers play. The flight is cheap, but dear God, I can't imagine what those tickets are going to be like. But it does sound like a good time. But that'll do it for this episode of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Steph, it's good to see you. Please don't leave me that many times. And again, we have to figure out a schedule where you and I call out on the same day as well, too. So Thank you guys for joining. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. If you're watching after, run up that hype button. You just have to scroll past, save and all that stuff that's there when you're looking on your mobile phone. That really helps us get pushed into the algorithm as well. Make sure that you subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Make sure you follow Steph on Twitter at Steph49K. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. And also make sure that you hit up the merch store for your Gold Standard merch. Steph and I'll have something coming out soon. I think it'll be either one for each or it'll be a collab. But when it drops, we'll let you know. So for Steph, for Jay, we're out here.
Peace.